Hello everyone, this is April when I'm doing this video. Obviously this is Dawn over at Plot Chronicles. I want to briefly tell you guys about my favorite book so far of the year. Let's get right into it. And I want to first, before getting into it, thank all of you for your support watching the channel. I'm new to doing this kind of content, and it's, even though I feel like it's overall going well, I kind of sometimes feel like I muddle through describing stories and books. I'm kind of not as confident with this as I am the money making channel. So hopefully within the next 6 months or so I'll get a better bearing, and I'm hoping to make more improvements on the channel, things like that. So thank you everyone for your patience and kindness. Now on to the books. These are my favorites so far. One of them I just mentioned in the previous video, so I'm not going to go into a long description on each one. Okay, one of them is called The Undoing of Violet Claybourne by Emily Critchley. That is one of my favorites. I just mentioned it on the previous video. Basically, I'm going to call it a gothic historical fiction, gothic historical mystery and historical fiction. And it's very haunting, and there are twists and turns, but they happen towards the end of the book where a lot of family secrets come out. But I thought, for some reason, the book just grabbed me. And I think it was because it was taking place during a different time period. And I'm really enjoying escaping into different time periods of history and just trying to get a better understanding of what that was like living during that time. I mean, you know, I can't imagine living during the 1930s, during World War II, or living during the Great Depression, or, you know, there's just so many period of histories. And another thing, I know this is off topic, but I've seen videos where, you know, like say the 1800s, where women are having to wear corsets and do different several layers. I just can't imagine putting on all those uncomfortable clothes, you know, especially in Texas heat. So it's just interesting looking how people used to do things. Okay, that is probably one of my very favorite books of the year. Okay, number 2, The Things We Do for Love by Kristin Hannah. I've mentioned this one in a previous video. I really like Kristin Hannah, the author. This book, I guess, I'll just call it fiction, maybe a little bit of drama, love story. And basically, Kristin and her husband couldn't have a child. I think they, if I remember correctly, they lost a child. And it's the struggles of them as a married couple. They did split up for a while. And she finds a young girl that she befriends who has a mother that is not a good mother, and she's a teenager. Well, this young girl ends up getting, you know, pregnant, and it's, you know, her, Kristin Hannah comes in, and she is there to help her family, helps this girl, and it's a relationship, you know, and renewed strength, and it's just a beautiful, lovely story. I remember this. I absolutely love how the book ended. I thought I had one of the best endings of any book. It just ended in a way where it was a win-win for everyone. I'll just say that. But a lovely story about forgiveness and family connection and just caring for one another. And I just loved it. I thought it was wonderful. The Things We Do for Love. Okay, the third one is what I would call it a mystery/thriller. And I like a lot of the books she writes by Jenifer Ruff, called The Atonement Murders, and it's about a bunch of unalivings, and Jenifer Ruff, who's in the FBI, they are doing an investigation about who's doing these and what connection is there between all of these unalivings. And there were some twists and turns and some things that really surprised me in the book, but it kept my interest. I know I've said this on several videos. Keeping my interest is a big deal. So if something keeps me reading or listening and it keeps my interest, that's a good thing, because I'm going to say at least 50% of the books I read or listen to don't keep my interest. I don't know if it's a me thing or if it's the book or a little bit of both. Okay, number 4, another one I like is The Last One at the Wedding, which is a thriller, and I think the same author, he wrote Hidden Pictures, which I also love that book, by Jason Rekulak, and I remember my husband helped me pronounce that name last time. But it's a really good thriller with a lot of twists and turns. I'll sum it up in one sentence. What would you do for family? Would you do anything for family? Because just think about something for a minute. Let's say you have somebody in your family that's not a good person, okay? And you kind of know they might be guilty of things, but their family is blood thicker than water. And what would you do to protect your family? Are you going to lie for them? What would you do to protect them? The ones you love. Because some people aren't easy to love. It's an excellent book. And last but not least, The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. I love all of her books. I know I've spoken about her before. Basically, it's a mystery, and you'll find out more about it in the book. But it's a really good character analysis. And the mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law don't get along very well. But it's funny because I actually love the mother-in-law. I think she's an incredible person, even though she's got some things about her. But there's a big mystery in there, and there's an unaliving, and who did the unaliving, and it's the entire story about that. But it's just got some really good character development in there where you really get to know the characters. Excellent story. So these are my favorite books of the year so far. Want to hear from you in the comments below. What are some of your favorite books so far for 2025? Love you, appreciate you. Come back tomorrow and find out some of the worst books I've read this year. Love you, bye.